It's 6:30 right now. Protests seen in Madison and across the country against several policy changes under the new Trump administration. Plus, we take a look at some of those policies and what the president is telling Americans as global markets get rocky. This is Weekend Mornings, and we thank you for joining us here on this Sunday, April 6th. I'm Kyle Pazorski. Actor Paul Rudd turns 56 today. And let's start with a look at the first warm forecast. Jacob Madison joins us. Have a pretty much clear day today, don't we, Jacob?
Yeah, it is looking pretty nice. I do have to mention, though, I don't think Paul Rudd ages. But anyway, let's take a look at the forecast. The temperatures right now, although they're colder than what they were yesterday morning, today is going to be a much nicer day compared to yesterday. The only reason they're cooler is because we're seeing almost completely clear skies, which do allow temperatures to drop quite a bit. It allows all that heat built up from the day to escape up into space. But right now, 20s right across the area. And as we look at the temperature forecast throughout the day, we're going to rise into the middle 50s, and we're going to see almost complete sunshine and very little wind, especially early. Might get a tiny bit breezy as we head into the evening, especially for areas off to the north, as that will kind of begin that cold front that moves through overnight. But much of the area, middle 50s for highs, plenty of sunshine, maybe a little bit more cloud cover as you get later in the day. But today is going to be very nice. Definitely get out and enjoy the weather. Not really much to say about today, but as we head into tonight, we are going to be seeing the chance of some snow showers because temperatures are going to drop quite a bit into Monday morning. But again, not really going to see a lot of that cloud cover today. Looking off to the north, though, this will be well after sunset. Maybe you folks in Eau Claire will see it just after sunset, but then it's going to slowly move further south. La Crosse will see it around midnight to 1 a.m. Madison a little bit earlier or a little bit later in the night towards Monday morning, but we're still not expecting much in the form of snowfall accumulation. Overall, we're going to be pretty quiet this week, but we are going to see the temperatures kind of drop before rising again. I'll talk more in detail about that coming up a bit later.
All right, Jacob, thank you. Topping our news, thousands taking to Wisconsin State Capitol grounds Saturday, speaking out against new policies put in place by the Trump administration. The day of action, dubbed Hands Off, was national, with scenes just like this taking place across the country. Here's what one of the protesters in Madison had to say about the movement.
I can sit at home by myself, and I can be frustrated and upset, and I can feel helpless. And so when I come, like on today, and I see all the people that feel the same way I do, it gives me hope, gives me strength.
Early reports say nearly 7,000 people participated in the Madison protest. And this is a live look now at Palm Beach, Florida from EarthCam. Looks nice there. And that's where President Trump is spending the weekend, playing golf Saturday and getting ready for a new week after a busy one we just wrapped up, which brought on new global tariffs and a fierce stock market reaction. CBS News correspondent Christian Benavides reports on the nationwide demonstration Saturday and what's next for Trump's economic plans from West Palm Beach.
From Chicago to Washington, D.C. and across the U.S., people gathered Saturday to speak out against the Trump administration. They protested President Trump's key initiatives, including large-scale cuts to federal agencies and the new slew of tariffs that have tanked global stock markets.
Their tariffs are not only imbecilic, they're illegal, they're unconstitutional, and we're going to turn this around.
Protesters also took to the streets in Paris, London, and other European capitals.
The policies Trump is following are a threat to the world as we have come to know it and enjoy it as very privileged Westerners.
Today, we really want to send a message of solidarity to our friends and families back in America.
President Trump is spending the weekend at his Mar-a-Lago estate here in South Florida. Some new tariffs on goods imported to the U.S. went into effect Saturday, triggering customs agents' collections at ports of entry. In a post on Truth Social, the president asked Americans to hang tough, calling the tariffs an economic revolution. But many consumers say they are worried. A YouGov poll finds that just over 2/3 of Americans think the price of goods they typically buy will rise. Christian Benavides, CBS News, West Palm Beach, Florida.
And in Washington, several key House Republicans have rejected a Senate budget resolution coming after the upper chamber passed their plan early Saturday morning. House Freedom Caucus Chair Andy Harris and House Budget Committee Chair Jody Arrington both criticized the budget resolution on social media Saturday. Arrington described it as being, quote, unserious and disappointing. Democrats have also spoken out against the budget, including Wisconsin Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin, speaking during Friday night's Vote-A-Rama session on the Senate floor.
You really believe that rural hospitals should close so that Donald Trump can give big corporations and the wealthiest a tax break? I certainly don't, but that is what this budget from Senate Republicans is setting us up for.
Now, if Republicans want to pass this, both chambers must agree to the same budget blueprint in order to unlock a filibuster-proof process called budget reconciliation. House Speaker Mike Johnson has said he plans to bring the Senate proposal to the House floor this week. And a White House official says President Trump is expected to host Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu at the White House on Monday. The visit comes as the U.S. has just slapped a 17% tariff on Israel. However, a senior advisor says Trump is actively negotiating with Israel on a trade deal. It also comes as Israel is escalating its campaign against Hamas, including the expansion of ground operations in northern Gaza. Happening today, Pope Francis has made a surprise public appearance, the first time the leader of the Catholic Church has been seen in public since leaving a Rome hospital 2 weeks ago. Francis greeted crowds at the Vatican and seemed to be in some good spirits this morning, seated in a wheelchair and wearing what appeared to be a nasal tube aiding in his breathing. The 88-year-old pontiff spent 5 weeks in a hospital with pneumonia throughout February and March. His appearance today had not been previously announced. Next, an update to a search for a missing boater on the Wisconsin River. Police are continuing the search for 20-year-old Francesco Di Filippo. On Thursday, the Wisconsin Dells Police Department reported a capsized boat on the Wisconsin River. Of the 3 people on the boat, 1 swam to shore safely. A 75-year-old was found dead. But due to volatile water conditions, teams cannot perform underwater searches at this time. Next, a consumer alert: over 22,000 pounds of cheddar bratwurst sold by Johnsonville have been recalled. This is what the packaging looks like. 2 customers reported finding hard plastic inside the bratwurst. The possibly contaminated brats were made on February 5th. No injuries have been reported, but if you have the product, you should either throw it away or return them to the store you bought them at. In Viroqua Saturday, the Vernon County Sheriff's Office held its 13th annual 5K Canine event. The race is a fundraiser for their canine unit, with the funds raised going to training as well as some vet visits. Their hope was to raise $25,000.
It's just our only fundraiser that we do for our canine unit, and the community really comes out and supports it, either by donations, sponsorships, or coming today and participating in it. So without the community, we would not be able to do this and keep our 2 canines up and running.
There was also a kids fun run and a 5K run walk for some other age groups. Well, the matchup is set for tomorrow's NCAA men's basketball tournament. Yesterday, Florida took down Auburn by a score of 79-73, and Houston took down Duke 70-67. Tomorrow's title game is at 7:50 p.m. between Houston and Florida's here on Central Time. And of course, you can catch it on CBS. Andrew has more sports news and highlights coming up in about 15 minutes. Time now is 6:38. Still ahead, our Kyron Lee will join us with a conversation on how to disinfect your home after you've gotten some sickness recently. Plus, as our calm weekend continues, Jake will have the full check of the first warm forecast and what to expect as we enter a new week. This is Weekend Mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Here's a look at the 3 things you need to know. We're going to see nice conditions today, but then we do have the chance of some light snow tonight into Monday morning. But after that snowfall, temperatures will slowly warm up throughout the week, and it will be much more spring-like for next weekend. So again, today, very nice weather, pretty close to normal for this time of the year. The good news compared to yesterday's, we'll see more sunshine and less wind. But let's talk about that snow chance overnight. We're not going to see anything until well after sunset, but looking off to the north, that is where the precipitation will begin. So you folks in Eau Claire will see it a little bit earlier, but you also don't have a chance for the precipitation Monday morning. It may mix in with a little bit of rain further north, but as temperatures continue to cool down overnight, it will be all snow. So as it pushes to the south, once it gets to southern Wisconsin, it will all be snow. But notice it's really going to be very light, and it's mostly going to occur before sunrise. But after sunrise, we may see a few lingering snow showers, especially for Madison and areas to the east. And then the entire area looks to be dry by about noon. And then we'll see partly sunny skies by the afternoon, mostly sunny skies for you folks off to the north and west. And everyone will see clear skies by sunset. Total snowfall accumulation will be very minimal, maybe about an inch at most up near Green Bay. But much of our region will see a trace at most, and anything that does accumulate will melt very quickly. So overall, not going to be a big deal, but it could make roads a little bit slippery at times. Now, temperatures will drop because of it, even despite the sunshine in the afternoon. Highs will only be in the 30s for the most part. A few lower 40s are possible. But looking at the highs for the rest of the week, 40s Tuesday and Wednesday, 50s for Thursday and Friday, and then 60s, possibly lower 70s for the weekend and early next week. Now, as far as precipitation during this time, we're not really going to see much of it. Tuesday will almost certainly be dry. We do have a small chance of some light rain, maybe even a few light snowflakes Wednesday evening. But again, this is not going to amount to much. It looks like it'll be mostly dry by Thursday, maybe a few light showers here and there. But nothing is expected to be consistent until maybe the beginning of next week. So looking at the 7-day precipitation chances, although there is a little bit of an increase, we're barely going to see much in the form of rain or snow during these time frames. So a very quiet week with temperatures dropping and then rising throughout the week. Again, 60s to lower 70s are possible by the time we get to the weekend and early next week. So it will definitely feel like spring then. May drop a little bit for that Tuesday next week, but overall it's going to be very nice. And next weekend is the first weekend of the farmers market. Right now, conditions look very nice. Might see some rain Sunday and then possibly a few thunderstorms that Monday. A lot can change between now and then, though. And for the next, 5 to 7 days, it's going to be pretty quiet despite those few small precipitation chances. So really just a few temperature swings and otherwise fairly dry for the most part.
All right, Jacob, thank you. If caramel popcorn is your favorite snack, well, here is an excuse to pop open a bag of it this weekend because today is National Caramel Popcorn Day. The sweet and crunchy snack is celebrated every year on April 6th. The treat's roots reach back to the early 1800s. That's when a German immigrant in Chicago teamed up with his brother to combine molasses with popcorn. There are many commercial and specialty brands available these days. A different way you could celebrate is by following a recipe to make it all on your own. Well, and as we navigate through another cold and flu season, the importance of maintaining a clean and germ-free home cannot be overstated. This morning, Dr. Rupa Shah stops by with some tips for how to effectively disinfect your living spaces and keep your family healthy.
Dr. Shah, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
So first, where should we begin after there was an illness in the household? I know there seems like there's so many infected spaces. Where do we begin?
Yeah, I was sick a few weeks ago, and so I really had to do this in my own home. So you really just want to start with the most touch spaces in your house. High touch spaces would be doorknobs, handles, surfaces, particularly like in the bathroom, like toilet, where you push into the toilet seats, things like that, where people use a lot is kind of where you really want to start kind of cleaning down. You don't have to be overly fastidious, but I think if we get the high touch surfaces and then also bedding and towels, right? So again, in the bathroom, the hand towels, make sure you wash all of that. Bedding, pillowcases, comforters, sheets, those types of things, really making sure you wash those in hot water to kind of get rid of all the different viruses and bacteria is a good idea.
Yes, with small children, this happens very frequently for us, even more often. So what are some other areas that may get overlooked in some households?
Yeah, so for you with your small children, they're probably sharing toys and stuff too. So they've got their little stuffies, so you can even put those in the, washer and dryer, right? Put them in a pillowcase or something, you can wash them easily. And then their hard toys, right? You can just wipe those down either with like a Lysol wipe or just warm soapy water, and then make sure you dry those. So that's another good idea for all those shared things that they're swapping germs back and forth.
Yes, it seems like it's a never-ending cycle during this time of year for little ones.
Yeah.
So what should we look for in disinfectants? I know there's different products out there.
There are so many. Sometimes it can be so confusing, but it doesn't need to be complicated, really. You can just look for a good household cleaner that's got some bleach in it, potentially some alcohol or some ammonia, and those are going to be good enough. And then on the label, it should tell you like kills 99% of viruses and bacteria. Something, Lysol product, that's going to be a really great product. And again, when you're using those products, the main important thing is make sure you're wearing gloves. These are not, safe for your hands, and then make sure your eyes are protected too. So if you're getting any spray back from them, a lot of times you just need to read to how long it needs to stay on the surface to effectively get rid of the virus and bacteria. And then read the label and make sure that it does kill viruses, bacteria, fungus, things like that, which is what we're trying to get after.
Okay, so those are things for like cleaning the surface. What about disinfectant sprays? Are those effective?
Those definitely are effective. Yep. Again, just making sure you pick one that's got the right ingredients in it, you're using it for the right amount of time and using it properly, and just having good hand and eye protection when you're spraying them, and then making sure your kids aren't around, obviously when you're using those surfaces.
Yes, because those smells can be very strong and
really
overbearing.
Can, and those are really strong chemicals to have in the air and stuff too, and to be breathing those in. So
very good.
Yeah.
Well, Dr. Shaw, before we go, where can we find you?
You can find me on Instagram at Wellness with Dr. Shaw.
Very good. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
And we're coming up now on 6:50, still ahead here on Weekend Mornings. Andrew will check in with Saturday's sports highlights, and Jacob has a quick check of the forecast. Stick with us. So entertainment news, Disney has released the first trailer for the new movie Tron Ares. The film stars Jared Leto as Ares, who is a program from the digital world and is sent into the real world to embark on a dangerous mission. The cast also includes Gillian Anderson and Evan Peters. Jeff Bridges also reprises his role as Kevin Flynn. It is now the third movie in the sci-fi franchise and is set to open in theaters on October 10th. You excited for that, Jacob? I watched.
I didn't even know about this.
Tron Legacy came out, about 2010? Was actually a pretty good movie. Of the few movies I've seen, I'm a big fan of it.
I've never seen a Tron movie, so, can't say I'm excited, but I'm not saying it's going to be bad. This isn't an interest of mine. But honestly, I didn't even know about it coming out till just now, to be honest.
Well, that's why we talk about it on the news.
Exactly.
Let's talk about the forecast though now.
Yeah, so tomorrow just might be our last chance of snow. Can't say that for sure, but let's take a look at what we normally see during the month of April. We average about 2.5 inches. Haven't seen any yet, and right now we're not going to get 2.5 inches from snow tonight into tomorrow. We still average about 1/10 of an inch for May, and taking a look at, on average, the last trace, measurable, and 1-inch snowfall, they usually occur in the month of April, with the last 1 inch plus averaging around March 31st. Now, like I said, it might be our last chance of snow. Can't say for sure, but if it is, here's what 2025 would look like. The last trace would possibly be tonight into tomorrow. Might see a trace, but if we don't, could be the last one on March 30th. We're very unlikely going to see an inch of snow. Doesn't mean we can't later in the month, but for tonight, very unlikely. And if that's the case, if we don't see an inch of snow on a certain day, the last for 2025 would be March 5th. So we definitely have been early in that category, but I'm sure a lot of people don't mind the snow being done early, especially this time of year you want to see the nicer conditions, and at least towards the end of the 10-day forecast, it will be a lot nicer.
Before the Bucks had played any basketball yesterday, they already had a huge win, clinching their spot in the playoffs for the 9th straight season. But to get a win on the court, they'd have to stage a furious comeback against the Heat. They trailed by 7 points with less than 3 minutes to play, but had a chance to force some free basketball. Less than a minute left, trailing by 2, and Brooke Lopez puts home the equalizer, capping an incredible comeback to force overtime. And in that free period, Giannis put the finishing touches on a masterpiece. The Freak finished with 36 points, 15 rebounds, and 10 assists. His 9th triple-double of the season helps the Bucks win it 121-115. To the Final Four for an unforgettable day in San Antonio. Game 1 was a thriller from wire to wire. Florida outlasted the top overall seeded Auburn Tigers, while Walter Clayton Jr. continued a torrid run in the tournament, scoring 34 points to send his Gators to the title game. And later, it was more madness. A devastating Duke loss caused by a Houston Cougar comeback for the ages. Houston trailed, or they ended the game on a 25-8 run, including a 7-0 run in 15 of the final 30 seconds of game time. They stunned Duke in an all-timer, setting up a Florida-Houston Monday National Championship game that will air right here on CBS at 7:50 Central. And Robin Pingeton got her first portal pickup since taking over the Wisconsin women's basketball program. Lacey Steele, a 5'11 guard who spent her first 2 college seasons at North Carolina State, said in a post on X she is 110% committed to Wisconsin. She averaged just under 3 points per game in her 2 seasons with the Wolfpack. When the Brewers started the season on a 4-game losing streak, Bryce Terang told me it's just 4 games. If we go on and win the next 158, no one will remember that 4-game skid. And it turns out he's mostly right. The Brewers responded by winning 4 straight games and had a chance last night to get over 500 for the first time this season. But after the way this one started, it would be a tall task. The Reds leading 5-0 in the 4th. And how about the former Madison Mallard, Jose Trevino, blasting his first homer of the season, putting Cincy ahead 7-0. The Brew Crew did make a comeback, but it wouldn't be enough. In the 5th, Sal Frelick cleared the bases with a triple and some help from Jake Fraley, but the Reds win it 11-7, the final score. That's your morning sports fix. Have a sensational Sunday.